Greetings, salutations, what is going on? My name is Leo Sekele Johnson. This is the Wave House, and welcome to the third episode of So Spiritual. And for the people who are still going to stay here for the podcast, episode 3 of the Wave House podcast. My name, as I said, is Leo Sekele Johnson, aka your favorite Uncle Leo, aka Sincerely Mr. Johnson, aka the guy with a vibe.
Yes, sir.
I am joined by a special guest. Please introduce yourself, special guest.
What's up, guys? My full name ID Tejofatso Oskiro Junior Mdlongwa, but people
Danko.
know me on Instagram as Junero, which is a nickname. Yeah, man, just a chilled guy, man. I love football. I feel like I'm very intellectual. I feel like there's a lot that Leo and I are going to speak about, and yeah, man, that's just a rough brief of who I am.
Listen, greatness only. And I like the fact you said you feel like you're an intellectual. A lot of people don't have the confidence to say that, or some people blindly say it. But listen, I don't bring people on who can't have a conversation. So let's do this, my G. So
I
you
appreciate
obviously
it,
introduce
man.
yourself.
I'll wait.
Um, let's start at the beginning because we're so spiritual. You got to start somewhere. So, how would you
All
describe
right,
spirituality to people
all
who
right.
don't know you, and your spirituality? How would you describe that?
Okay, so I'm pretty much going to describe everything based on my personal experience and based on my view, because I
Hmm.
feel like it's such a very subjective topic where so many people have their opinion on what it is. So I'm going to tell you what my opinion pretty much is, right? So um firstly, I'm a Christian. And for me, what spirituality is, it's not necessarily the practices that comes with being a Christian, like you're praying, you're reading the Bible all the time, or going to church. For me, what spirituality is your actual connection with God. Your actual encounter with God. So it's pretty much like a friend, bro, or someone. Like you get to know someone more as you spend time with them. You get to know someone more as you encounter with them more, as you speak with them more, as you experience with them more. The conversations that you have with your friend, it's not that thing of, ish, I need to message this guy right now because it's this time, or ish, I need to message this guy right now. So I feel like that's for me what the difference between religion and spirituality is. I feel like religion is more the rules that you have to do, but the spirituality is more the actual connection that you have with uh God. Well, for me, yeah, that's yeah,
Mm, mm. And I agree
that's what
with
it
you a
is.
lot with what you're saying. So how did you form that perspective? Because obviously, when you're younger, I don't think it's very easy to distinguish between the two. It's not very easy to say one part is religion, one is spirituality. How do you think you got to this point in your life? Because it is a very interesting thing to say.
That's very true. Yeah, I think firstly, like how I came to that this opinion that I have, I think it was just based on faith, man. I know a lot of people that are in the same religious group as me, and
Mhm,
they do everything, bro. Like they go to church, they read their Bible, they pray every night, but it's almost as if there's no substance to what they're doing. So it's like they're doing what they're doing just because they've been told this is what they have to do, and not because they actually have a genuine desire to do it. So like I said before, faith, a lot of these people do a lot of praying and all of this, but like when testing times come, they don't have faith, so it's almost like, okay, everything that you're doing, what are you actually doing it for? Are you doing it because it's something that you truly believe, and that you or is it something that you feel as if, you know what I mean? So for me, I think when I started seeing the difference between me and other people in that segment, that's when I started being able to see, oh, okay, so there's people that can pray and do all these things and post all these things, but it doesn't really seem like they have a genuine connection. And another thing is also just who you are as a person at the end of the day, you can post, you can pray, you can do everything you want, but if in your heart you don't necessarily have great intentions, you don't have a clean heart, bro, then I don't know. It's like, where does your connection really lie? You know,
mm.
I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. And it's actually, I think we agree with, I would like to say that I agree with you on that on a very like strong level because where I am in my
Mm-hmm.
journey, because I always say this, and I'm sure people are gonna get so tired if you've watched this a lot. But I do say that spirituality is a journey. It's not. There's no. A lot of people look at it as
Yeah.
competition, and I think that's why a lot of people get turned off religion,
Mhm.
because I think religion gets turned into a
Yeah.
very competitive thing. Um, but
Yeah.
I really did like what you're saying, that it's about faith, especially in testing times. It's kind of like
Mhm.
a lot of people just read; they don't actually pay attention to what they're reading. Like it's
Mhm.
even in learning and all of this stuff, the times that you are going to learn the most about your faith or the most about your spirituality and your religion is in the times when you tried. It's kind of like, you know how good a football player is the minute he's
Yeah.
down 1-0 at 83 minutes. You know a
Mhm.
lot about a person when they're under pressure. You don't know a lot about a person when they're
Yeah.
in their form, when they're comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
True.
I'll turn that into who and what or are your influences in terms of spirituality and so forth, especially at this age, I would say.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. So like, yeah, my spiritual journey actually, how it began was, I feel like it was more religious, like growing up. Of course, I grew up in a Christian household, so would go to church, every single Sunday and stuff like that, praying, reading our Bibles and stuff. But as a kid, this is what you're told, but you don't necessarily comprehend what's being said. So in my mind, like, I'm told, okay, there's God, there's heaven, there's hell, this, all of these things, right? But it's like I'm not really comprehending what's going on
Mm,
until like you grow older and you see kind of like different circumstances that people are in compared to yourself, stuff like that, man. Like you begin to have more life experiences, and as you begin to have more life experiences, I think you just kind of just look for more meaning, you know um and for me, I guess, yeah, man, it was in like as I grew older and as a lot of turbulences were happening in my life, there, like, the sermons that I would attend and stuff like that would speak more volumes to me at as I grew older than when I was younger,
mm,
and that's because I didn't try to understand it from a religious perspective. I actually try to find who this God is that they're speaking about. Do you know what I'm saying? Actually try and encounter, actually try and search for what they're saying, and not just look at it at a surface level, and the more I began to do that, the more I began to just experience this, like, gratitude, bro, this bliss, and just understanding how life kind of works, because even in the Bible, dog, it'd be like, in trials and tribulations, I will be there, whatever, which means that trials and tribulations are going to be in your life, So I feel
mm.
like it's all about having understanding and just letting go of yourself and just kind of letting God just do what he needs to do, bro. I feel like a lot of people kind of approach life with their mind and their plans and not understanding that there's a greater will in this world. It's like, okay, how are some people going through this and I'm not, or something like that, bro? It's just there's just a lot of things beyond what we know and beyond what we experience. And then once we go through these things, we realize, like, oh shit, I actually needed to go through that in order to be where I am right now. But in the midst of it, you were quite lost, you were quite confused. So, yeah, man, I know I'm jumbling around and everything, but pretty much I grew up in this household. And then it's just as I grew older, I began to search for a deeper meaning to it and not just look at it at a surface level. And that's where my spiritual journey, that's pretty much how it be like, yeah, how it went and how it's still going.
I honestly think, yo, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's some of the stuff you said is very profound, especially when you said find who this God is. And the reason I say that is because I've always had,
Yeah.
or rather, let me ask you this question: that Do you think that there is a different God for everyone in the same religion? Almost, it's almost like, so. I'll tell you why I asked this question. A lot of what I think is that
Okay.
sometimes,
Now, here.
there's this rap line, like a lot of rappers sometimes will say the thing of like, the only time I've ever heard God, it was the voice of a woman, right? And I also think sometimes like that voice in
Mm,
your head, if you do hear a voice, could also be, or it could be, we're not going to
mm,
hear the same voice. We're not going to hear God speaking to us in the same way. And I
mm-hmm,
mean this in a
mm-hmm,
very, in
mm-hmm.
whatever religion you take it
Okay.
in whatever spiritual
Yeah,
sense
yeah,
you
I
take
hear
it
you.
in.
I hear you. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
get it. It's
So
even in
this,
different.
yeah,
Actually, speak, please speak.
this is how I see it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
go on.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the way that I see it is that like I feel like God is so divine and he's so great beyond human comprehension, right? So I feel like the thing is with humans is that we try and comprehend God. We try and put a label on him, label him either a him or a her or a this or a that. We try to bring God down to human comprehension, whereas bro, God is so divine and so beyond human comprehension. Like you can't even whatever, you know. And what I realize with religion and everything is that like there's so many different religions, right?
Mm,
And I ask myself this question. I'm like, how can there be so many different religions and every person follows their religion, like they follow it, which means it works for them. You know what I mean? So the way that I see it, I really feel as if like God is so great, you can experience him in so many ways. You know, I read
mm,
this quote and it was like, um, God is like an ocean, you know, and the people, the earth, whatever are just glasses of water. You know, he's the source of everything, bro. Everything, you know. And hence, there's so many ways you can experience him. People experience him via astrology and stuff. Why? Because, yeah, man, he created the universe. People experience him via people because even in the Bible, it says that we were created in his image. So we have godliness in us. We are his vessels, you know. People experience him through nature because bro, everything that we see around us, in my opinion, is kind of just an extension of him, bro. You know, and that's why I feel as if people can experience him in different ways, and that's why everyone that has their belief system, it works for them, and they stick to it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
mm.
because they had their encounter with God in this way. I had my encounter with God this way. You know, for like I said, for some people it can be with a conversation with the person. Another with other people it could be just being in nature. With other people it could be with astrology. You know, like there's just so many. So I really feel as if there's one God who is just so great and so beyond that you can experience him in different ways. And the problem is that us as human beings are trying to comprehend him and just boil him down to one thing that can make sense to humans, because you have to understand humans, we naturally just want things to make sense. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? We naturally just want to be able to comprehend things, and I feel like that's why there's always a debate on who he is, how he is, where he is, all of that, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, that's listen, that's bars, bro. We naturally want to comprehend who he is. But sometimes you just have to
Thanks.
I think sometimes the most beautiful thing is just
Yeah.
accepting you don't understand it. It's everywhere and anywhere. It's beyond our comprehension, as you
Yeah.
say. So that pulls me
Yeah.
to the next part of
Hmm.
all of this. How do you think your views on spirituality are shown in different kinds of media, whether it be social media, whether it be, I don't know, even in books through other people, etc.?
Okay. Okay. So, um, I feel as if, okay, so let's say, for example, Christianity, for example, right? I
Mhm.
feel like it is kind of, well, now as time progresses, it's kind of seen in a negative way, simply because it's like you have people who are busy telling other people you're going to go to heaven, you're going to go to hell based on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So I feel like the reason why Christianity is put in like a negative or seen in a negative light is because other people are allowing other people to represent God and not God represent himself. Do you know what I mean? So someone will be like, I don't really like God because I met a Christian and this Christian told me that because I'm drinking alcohol, I'm going to go to hell. But God didn't say that. You know, he said that. And the thing is, I feel like people, like I said, they are allowing others to represent him rather than going to experience him for themselves, you know? So I feel like the religious aspect of being a Christian, like I said, it's seen in a negative light because some people will even say hypocrisy, hypocrites, and stuff like that, which I understand because I've encountered that as well. I've been judged by other Christians and stuff. Yet I've been so blessed, and it's like, okay, yo, but you know, sometimes I see you drinking, sometimes I see you doing this and this and this. How are you so blessed? And that's where it comes. It's more the spiritual and it's more who you are as a person than anything, right? And then I think sometimes the spiritual aspect of things, how it's looked at, especially by people within my religious group, like I feel as if this is the perfect way to see it. I feel like they see a different perspective as a challenge to their perspective, right? So instead of
Ah.
understanding this perspective for what it is, they see it as a challenge to their perspective. And that's why they're not really open more to spirituality, because it sounds like a more modern day antichrist type of thing. Whereas spirituality is your relationship with God, bro. It's really not going against what you see. It's just, it's more deeper. You know what I'm saying? It's with more substance, you know? So yeah, that's why I feel like there's really just this clash between kind of religion versus spirituality and stuff like that. Whereas I really feel as if they go hand in hand. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's almost like how a PlayStation goes hand in hand with the controller. You know, you can have a console with all your games downloaded in it, but you cannot program it without a controller. Do you know what I'm saying? You can have all the access to God and whatever, but at the end of the day, you kind of need that knowledge, you need that guidance, you need that, you know, I really feel like they go hand in hand and not against each other. I don't know if I answered your question or if I just jumped like, yeah, but yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I do think so. I think you one of the things that I'm understanding from it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it looks like a lot of whatever's influencing people
Hmm.
is leading to more influences, and now it's becoming this thing of, as you say, people think their perspectives are being challenged rather than accepting that there's like 7 billion people, there's going to be
Hmm.
7 billion different types of perspectives. You know what I'm saying? um
Yeah.
so rather, let me
Yeah.
ask the question like that: what do you think
Yeah.
modern Christianity looks like in your perspective, I should ask?
Ooh. Um, in my perspective, modern Christianity, I feel like, um, based on my experiences, right, and the church that I go to, I would kind of, I'd say it's quite modern, you know. Um, and
Mm,
for me, what it is, right, I don't think it's okay. I think where the difference is that they're very, I think it's more transparent, and it's more, it's, well, for me in my experience, it's more in a way that I can understand. Do you know what I mean? Simply because, you know,
mm,
the preacher will like speak, say his message. He will tell his story about how imperfect he was and how whatever, you know, making you understand that, you know, he's also an imperfect human being who had an encounter and had this journey and, you know, grew, and it didn't just come to him like that and everything, right? And then also just finding and also just giving solutions as to how to reach this, rather than, you know, I really feel as if like
issue.
growing up, like the way it was kind of brought to me in the previous time, it was like it's either this or this, you have to do this or this, you know. But like modern day, I feel like, you know what, well, what I've experienced with a lot of my modern day preachers is that, like I say, they're very transparent and honest, bro. And I feel like that's also just what we need, bro. We need to understand that also this guy that is preaching to me isn't perfect, dog. You know, he's also done things so that I don't feel like, okay, I'm going to hell right now. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if you
Yeah.
understand, like, okay, like there's this preacher that I watch right now. You know, this nigga used to be addicted to porn. He used to be like a liar, manipulator. He used to be this fucked up person, right? But then, of course, he had his encounter. He went through his journey, and even till like right now, you know, he still speaks about how imperfect he is. He even still speaks about how, hey man, sometimes he doesn't feel like praying, you know. And I feel like those are the honest truths that a lot of like old school people don't want to say, because they're trying to look a certain way, because they're looking at things from such a black and white perspective. Whereas it's like, we are imperfect people who kind of need a God as a savior and as guidance and whatever, rather than we are perfect people who are going to tell people it's either this or that. And you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like that's kind of what the how modern Christianity is in my eyes. I feel like it's just more transparent, more relatable to what we're going through right now, and just more helpful and useful, rather than just like a rule book. Because man, if it's just a rule book, dog, at the end of the day, like a person is gonna also have their own mind, like, but it doesn't make sense. What, you know, like yeah, bruh, it's yeah, yeah. That's just how I see it.
No, I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. I think, yeah, I don't even have to add to that because I think you've said everything that needs to be said, and it's very important that a lot of people find that, like, another thing I say about a journey is that, like, have you ever realized if you drive to the same place, let's say, like, I don't know, you drive into a mall, right, from your house. it might not always be exactly 10 minutes for that drive. Sometimes it may be 15 minutes because you took a roundabout, you had to stop somewhere, you had to go to the petrol station, etc., etc. Again, I'm using this journey example a lot because I think a lot of the thing, like, we don't know where the destination is, but it's gonna take us time. We're gonna encounter a lot of things along the
Mm.
way. So I really did like how you said that, and if you're ready, I'd like to progress to what today's episode of Social Spiritual is mainly about. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Um, finally, to
Yeah, yeah,
conclude
we
on
can.
modern Christianity, to be all right,
No, I feel like I've said everything that I need to say.
all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. So I presented a topic to you, right? I said I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to you about
Hmm.
reincarnation, right? So would you like me to introduce reincarnation to the podcast, or would you just
Hmm.
like to start the conversation?
Yeah, maybe you could introduce it to them because maybe some people
All
won't
right.
understand it the way it was presented to me.
Mm.
So,
So, reincarnation, the easiest way I can explain it, right? Or rather, from my comprehension of what reincarnation is, it is the passage of your soul into another, whether it be another human form, whether it be animals, another object, another. It is the passage of your spiritual soul into a new phase in order to complete your purpose almost. In Eastern philosophy and Eastern spirituality, it's linked to your karma and your dharma, which is a lot of your morality and giving like the result of your actions almost.
mm,
So I'll start. What do you
mm,
think about spirituality, just in general? And obviously, I want people to understand before you go. I want people to understand this isn't something that's very common in Southern Africa, so it
about
is very
spirituality
new to a lot of us.
or reincarnation.
Reincarnation, yeah, reincarnation.
So yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie. I really didn't know much about it at all. Yeah, I really didn't know much about it until actually I watched the videos that you sent to me, you know. And that really, at the time when I was watching those videos, I was like, okay, am I going to watch it from a perspective of, okay, this is what my belief is and I'm seeing it as a challenge, or am I just going to put my perspective to the side and actually just see this thing for what it is and try and understand it for what it is, so
Mm,
that's what I decided to do, just to actually watch what you sent to me and take it for what it was, so what like my comprehension from it as well is pretty much um yeah, man, just like you said, the transfer of a soul into another, you know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, man, when I saw it, it made me realize how much, like, there's the physical realm, which is what we're experiencing right now as humans in human form, and then I feel like there's the spiritual realm. And the spiritual realm is something that, like, I feel like it has a lot of like complexities to it, and it's very hard to comprehend simply because we are humans, so it's very hard for us to comprehend what's really going on in the spiritual realm. But watching what I watched yesterday, it was very insightful, man. It was very insightful where, there can be an old soul from someone in a past life coming into a new soul. And what the video said is that because it feels as if the soul feels as if it didn't accomplish what it needed to accomplish spiritually or something like that. So that is why it's making that transfer from this person who might have died or got murdered or killed unfairly and whatever into another person. So that was like, wow, man, because there's some people, dog, who really, it's almost like when they're going through life, their life decisions are already made, bro. It's like, whoa, it's like, bro, they're already there. Like, they so it's like, I
mm.
don't know, man. It's like their soul is already connected with whatever they're going through, and like I said, it's kind of just their soul's mission to accomplish what they couldn't accomplish in the past. So that's kind of what I got from it, and I found it like really interesting, bro. I found it really interesting.
All right. So let's move on to the next phase of this because I think or rather, let me
Okay.
also offer some information and we can just chat about it. I found this very interesting, the whole concept of reincarnation, very interesting because there's I almost believe that like it kind of enforces the whole thing of your journey is not over. You get what I'm saying? Like there's still something you have to do. Maybe it is even adding
Yeah.
to
Oof. Wow.
other
Yeah.
people's other people's journey. So sometimes it's like, so with all of these stories about reincarnation, right? It's always kids are the ones who start saying and learning and like talking from the past life. And from doing research and so forth, it's almost like the saying is that like kids see ghosts type of a thing. Like they're able to see ghosts and other things until they taught they aren't able to. And that kind of answers why certain people, like why when someone says, why don't they understand when they're
Hmm.
old and they can comprehend? It's kind of like you get taught not to learn these things, or your eyes are tainted by like the world you live in. But I find this very interesting because it's like, I do think it's quite true. In some way or another,
Mm.
there are certain people that do things like exactly like the past. And it's almost like, even to the thing, history
Mm.
repeats itself for a reason.
Hmm.
Like people have learned from mistakes, but things still happen in some way or another.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why the world is so crazy, I think, because it means that
Hmm.
in some way or another, there could be like 3.5 billion people who haven't
Yeah,
finished
bro.
their journey. Yeah. So what do you think about that, even? Like a lot of people
Yeah.
not finishing
Oof.
their journey.
Crazy. Yo. 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 Yeah, man, that's a big one. Like, jeez. Yeah, dude, I really think that that's true, bro. I really think that that's true. Like I said, I feel like us as human beings, we really don't really know much about the spiritual realm. But then there's just some special people who really just come and just do and say special things. And it's like, dude, but where did you get all this knowledge from? Or where did you, bro, like how? Like, how? Make it make sense, bro. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, I really do think that that's true. I really think that there's some people who really didn't accomplish their mission, and they came back to try and accomplish their mission, and it's either they will continue to come back until their mission is accomplished, bro. You know, um, and yeah, man, I guess in some way that also just could be part of the will of God, maybe, because it's like at the end of the day, I think, well, this is my opinion, and this is the way that I see it. I think as if like it needs to get to a point where almost like all souls have kind of reached the level that they need to reach of whatever, so all souls kind of need to accomplish their mission on a spiritual level. And if that's not the case, then history will probably repeat itself until that is the case. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, bro. Yeah. Like I said, man, we are vessels. We have souls within us. We're not just humans. We have souls within us. We're vessels. That's why we connect on a spiritual level to whatever the case may be. So, yeah, man, I think this thing really just goes way beyond what we can even make sense of. I really think that.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so crazy for me because like I do have this. I always think to myself like, since I started learning about it and paying more attention to these ideas, right, outside of what I had previously known spiritually, like as
Hmm.
I keep growing and learning more things, I always think like, yeah, there could be, like, we could have one day in the future, right, when a bunch of people are like trying to finish their task, but you can't because someone else's task might come in the way of you finishing yours. So there's just going to be a bunch of repeated cycles on a spiritual level. And it's
Mm,
kind of like, how crazy is the world going to get
mm,
to that? And I don't mean even in a bad way, like good and bad. Like good and bad is all relative to what your perspective is.
mm,
And it's all like, one of the quotes that I
mm.
remember
True.
specifically from like a couple of years ago, like this is how I even started on my journey, is that an eye corrupted with memory can't see much. And I started thinking about that a lot because I started researching about, how people always talk about your third eye and all of that.
Please
But I
repeat
really,
that.
an eye corrupted with memory can't see much. So the minute, like even if you think about it, like the example was your taste buds,
Woo.
like your
Damn.
taste buds are corrupted the minute you're born. Like you start eating food from your culture and all of that. So good and bad is only relative to what you started eating. Like someone might come to South Africa and have a kota and they're like, this is disgusting. But like,
Mm, mm,
what do you mean it's disgusting? Like that doesn't make sense to me. But it's only because for years they were eating something that
But
just
it's
was
a quarter.
different.
Facts.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy, bro. This stuff is crazy. That's all I know. Yeah. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like,
That's very true.
what do you
That's
think
very
about
true.
like
And
ending
I think
cycles and all of that?
I learned. You see what you're saying right now. I think I learned
Mm.
that when. Oh shit! Sorry.
No, continue, please.
Sorry.
Continue saying what you wanted to say.
Oh, I was saying that I just think that I learned that whole thing of everything being contaminated when I kind of just moved to Europe. Uh,
Mm.
and after staying in South Africa for like 18 years, and now you're going to Europe where it's you're the minority now. You're no longer the majority. So your way of living, your way of doing things, your way of seeing things, even your food preferences and stuff, it is no longer the norm because you're now in a place where you are part of the minority. You know, you're in a place where the white people are the majority. Who these people kind of operate quite differently to the way people operate in South Africa, even with food, dude. Like I remember when I was in the UK and I went to the movies and these niggas didn't have spice for their popcorn. I was like, bro, what? You know, and just like that example that you made, it's like if someone had to come to South Africa and have a quota, it'll be like ew, but it's like, for us, we've been like having that for years. So I guess it's the same way, not only with food, but just in the way your view of life is. You know what I'm saying? If this is all you know, of course, when something new comes, it's gonna be like, dude, what? You know? Um, and on top of that, like the reason why it's going to be such a shock to you is because what you know, ne, you've gone to know it in so much detail because it's the only thing you've been exposed to, whether it be spiritual practices, spiritual knowledge, whatever. Like that's the only knowledge you've been exposed to in that detail and in that bracket. So when something new comes, it's like, whoa, bro, it really, it challenges you. It really does challenge you.
Yeah. And not even to get too far off of the reincarnation topic, but even to talk to your point about how moving to Europe had shown you different things. So here in South Africa, you don't have much of the different, like you obviously have the difference, but you don't see much of the Orthodox and Catholic Christianity coming together, right? Whereas where we are in Spain, you see because there is such a vast European population, there are a lot of Russian, Eastern European Orthodox Christians and a lot of Catholic Christians there. And how they interact about spirituality and Christianity is actually something that I haven't ever experienced. So when I was listening to a lot of people talk about that, I was like, wow, this is actually very interesting that two people that are Christian have
Mm,
two almost different sides of the same book. You get what I'm saying? And obviously, the books are there's small variances in the
mm,
book,
mm,
but just the way that it's formed and the way their habits are then formed, it's kind of eye opening. No pun intended with all of these eyes and stuff. So that is even also how I
mm.
got onto reincarnation because I was then exposed to even more culture. Like obviously here in South Africa, people don't understand how diverse it is actually. Like we have a lot of like groups of different international communities. So when I'm now going overseas and I'm having more concentrated groups of
Mhm.
cultures, right? And then obviously being in an international school, there's different things there. It's kind of like when someone's saying reincarnation to me, I'm thinking of like when you're watching an American movie and they're talking about a phoenix coming back, and you're like, ah, this is that Narnia nonsense. But then when you really learn about it and you get more open to like, oh, this is
Yeah.
like purpose being fulfilled, and then you start to understand that like the reason why spirituality is so head on about purpose is because what are you going to do if you just like if everything just ends, you didn't finish it? Like it's like, wow, what happens next? You
Mm,
have to come back, you have to finish your purpose. And it's
mm,
kind of like I think
mm.
that's where a lot of value in spirituality comes from.
Yeah,
Purpose is probably the value. Yeah.
that's very true.
Yeah, man.
Bro, that's so
So
profound. I don't think you understand how profound that shit was, bro. And I'm hearing it. Yo.
So,
Jeez. Nah, I agree,
what do
man.
you
Like
think then?
purpose.
Purpose, man. So, here's my final question on this section, and I want to actually keep this episode short because I think we talked about a lot of things, and I don't want it to get lost. Um, what do you think then, and is like the end? What do you think the end of a journey is? And you can get as deep as you want. You can get as simple as you want to. But what is the end in spirituality, in your opinion?
Wow. I really think that it's I think the end well, I think well, okay, so I'm gonna give you this just based on the way that I see it, of course, because that's the only way I can, and just based on my spirituality, my religion, the way that it makes sense to me, right? So at the like I feel like um in the Bible it says, you need to kind of separate yourself from the world in order to be able to connect more with the spirit, you know. And yeah, that's the statement on the surface level, but when I look at it on the spiritual level, right, I really feel as if here on earth there is so much like illusions and stuff like that because of everything that's thrown at us, man, especially now in this digital era that we're in. I feel like there's so much things that really block like our spiritual sight. Yeah, let me say vision, because sight is what you see right now and vision is what you see with your eyes closed, right? So I feel like there's a lot of things that us as human beings we go through, we see on social media, whatever. They bring these limiting thoughts. They bring all of these things, right? Or they influence us and put us in a thought of lack and not a thought of abundance, and all of these things, right? And I feel like these things are the type of things that contaminate our soul, right? Because I feel as if to really operate and to um for your spirit to be ignited and for your spirit to be fully connected to the source and stuff like that, you kind of need to be a bit further from the world and kind of like shut down all of those influences, all of those noises and stuff like that, right? So I feel as if the end goal, like the end is, I think it's when your soul has reached this level of like purity, bro, and bliss, bro. And I feel like it's very hard to be pure when the world only teaches you to compare. When the world teaches you that you have less than what this guy has. So you need to always look to have what this guy has or more than what this guy has. You know what I'm saying? It's very hard for you to
Yeah.
be pure because you're comparing yourself. You're literally hating people that don't even know you have anything to do with you, you know? Like the world has this whole divide and like bro, it's so impure, bro. It's just so impure. So I feel as if the end goal is because and I really feel as if like your spiritual, I really feel as if you can tap into your purpose based on whatever. Like for me, I feel as if I connected through God more and my purpose through playing football, dude. I really feel like I was brought onto this planet to play football, right? And then I feel like my spiritual journey kind of I started embarking on it as I began to experience the trials and tribulations that come with being a South African footballer, let's say trying to even reach Europe or whatever. And now my faith is tested. Now my faith is on the line. So do I believe the limits that are being put on me by these experts and everyone around me here on earth? Or do I believe the word of God that says, trust in me and it is already yours? Do you know what I'm saying? So what am I
Mm.
tapping into now? Am I tapping into the physical sight, what I see? Oh, snap, I'm not in a club. Oh, snap, I'm not in an academy. Or vision, what God has gifted me with. No, bro, I'm going to make you the best player in the world if you can go through what I'm making you go through right now and understand that, you just need to have faith in me. I'm building your character. I'm building you know what I'm saying? I feel like all of the things that I've went through and where I've gotten to right now, it has all enriched my soul through the football experience, so I'm not saying that when I say we should separate from the world, I'm not saying we should just be sitting there on the mountain Himalayas and meditate all day, but I'm just saying that we need to be able to just tap in more into our spiritualness and just bro, I'm wavering around, but like I hope you understand what I'm saying. Just disconnect from the world and just be more connected with the spirit. So I think that's what the end goal is, for your soul to be more connected with the spirit and less contaminated with the earthly things, by
Mm.
less contaminated by the earthly things. I think that's the end goal. That's the way that I see it.
Now that's listen. I understood you 100% throughout. I would say that we also a lot of what you said is what I agree with and what I also think. I think almost the end and whatever it is, even I had a guest on one of my episodes and she was like, um, energy never dies. It just moves forward
Mm,
or it moves to the next, it moves somewhere else.
mhm,
Like even people who are buried, your energy is just transferred into the ground and you become part of the earth. So I almost feel like
mm, oof,
the end of the end of your journey ends when the last person who has ever been influenced by you ends. That is kind of how I look at it. And for some people, your journey will never end.
mm,
Some people, your journey will never end. This whole
mm,
like in some way or another,
mm,
the rest in peace is almost like it's kind of like your story cannot be told or altered anymore. Rather, your story can never be altered anymore. You're
mm,
who you are
mm,
because it's almost like 70 a million people have an opinion about you, which is kind of crazy. You don't know some of these people that actually know
mhm,
you. A lot of people know you that you don't actually know, or
mhm,
they think they know you. They've encountered stories
mm,
about you, they've encountered your face,
mhm,
they've done all this stuff, and it alters who you are in the grand scheme of life. And I
mhm,
think even what you said is like you have to learn how to get away from the world in order to touch one thing. And that's also one of the things. It's very hard to do
mhm,
that when you're so involved in it, because in some way or another you get interacted with it. So
mm,
where the story, the journey, and all of that ends, it's when you finally find the end. When you find the end and other people have let your story just, and not in a bad way, pass, but almost like rest. Like that's kind of how I
yeah,
started to understand the rest in peace
yeah,
thing. Like it's very hard for any soul to rest in peace because it needs to keep moving. It needs to keep going. It does keep moving. It does keep going.
mm,
So
mm, mm,
yeah, man, energy never dies, and you are just a bundle of energy, even at a
yeah,
scientific level. Your atoms and
yeah,
all of that stuff,
mhm,
and then
literally,
you become either the earth, you go into the ocean, you go into the rain, you come down, you feed the earth, you feed the ecosystem continuously, bro. There's no like, think about it. Like
mm,
someone who got buried becomes a tree in somewhere or another, or becomes the grass, which feeds the next set of
mhm,
people that and organisms that just keep going. Like I think the
mm,
earth actually ends
mhm,
when it explodes, or your life, your journey ends when everything ends.
yeah,
That's kind of the conclusion I came to, bro. So
yeah,
yeah, man,
nah, I
that
hear
was some
you,
great stuff. We're gonna end social spiritual,
yeah,
yeah. Great episode. I think it was great, concise, and got a lot of things done in 45 minutes.
yeah.
What would you like to leave people with social spiritual? What are your last words on spirituality that people can just be like, ah, Junior said that?
My last words on spirituality. Ah, man, crazy.
Hey, man.
I think I might even just be overthinking this whole thing, and I could really just sum everything that I just said. And um, I don't know, man. I think there's just more to life than just the physical. And I really think that it is important for us to also just take care of our souls. There's a lot of things that we participate in that kind of contaminated, and not to say like bad things or whatever. I'm imperfect myself, and I'm not saying that we should reach perfection, but I feel like the most basic practices is just like practice gratitude, man. Be grateful for the shit that you actually have, because there's a lot of people, as we can even see right now in our country, that don't have what you have right now. you know stop looking at people with the judging eye, because you really don't know what they've been through. You are not them. You haven't experienced their life in their shoes. So let go of, stop being attached to other people's lives, because that also just contaminates your soul. And it just, bro, yeah, man, it damages you for no reason. That person ain't even worried about you or anything like that. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, nothing's wrong with just being kind, loving, and respectful. I feel like love is the highest vibration that could ever exist. And you just feel so good, when you're surrounded by good people, and when you're the truest version of yourself, and you don't have to alter your avatar because this person knows you as a dick, and then this person knows you as the truest loving person that you are. I feel like yeah, man, just yeah, choose love, man. And as cliche as it sounds, just be peaceful, man. And there's really nothing wrong with spreading love. There really isn't anything wrong with that. You know, I think the world actually needs more of that rather than hate and comparison. And like I said, all of this enriches the soul. You actually feel good on the inside, man. So yeah, man, that's just how I'll end it off, actually.
Well, thank you so much. That's some profound stuff. Thank you, my guy.
I
Let's.
appreciate it, though.
So, if you're watching Social Spiritual, thank you so much. Peace, loving, and energy to you and all your people. Share it and do everything that the YouTube banner is about to say in 3, 2, 1. All right.